So as you can see on the very bottom of that inverted pyramid, I've written phonemes, okay? And so phonology, you can see that's up a couple rungs. That's how sound, this is the study of sound systems, or how sounds are placed in a consistent patterns. Phonemes are the distinct sounds of a language. And we have voiced and voiceless vibrations that come with different sounds. So, for example, we have voiced B and ba, ba. But then we have a voiceless P sound. P, p. And you can even feel the difference of the air in how we use our mouths to form those different sounds if you hold your hand up and make a B sound or a P sound. One is voice, the other is voiceless. The other is aspiration and pitch change the meaning of words. What you say isn't always as significant as how you say it, right? And I'm sure you've all heard your mama say that. It's like, it's not what you said, it's how you said it, or it's your tone or your pitch. But we even have techniques in our language so we know if something is a statement, a command, or a question. So for example, if I want to make something a question, all I have to do is lilt my voice at the end. Like, do I want to make that a question? And when I lilt my voice at the end, you know I'm asking for a response, as opposed to, I'm asking you a question. That's more of like a statement. I'm asking you a question? That's me questioning whether or not I'm asking you a question, okay? And we do that simply with the tone or pitch of our words. Now, you can imagine in tonal languages where almost every letter has its own tone and changes its meaning, how difficult that could be. So like in Chinese, you could be saying the same word, but depending on where you place the emphasis, or whether you're raising the pitch, whether you're lowering it, some have an up and down pitch, other is a more flat, and each of those will change the meaning of the word. And that's really intense to think about. The next word I want you to know is morphology. And this is the meaningful sequence and sounds with the rules that govern how they are formed. Language has a finite number of words found in a lexicon, but a morpheme is any sequence that carries meaning. And so we can have free, these can stand alone, and then we have bound morphemes. These would be like prefixes and suffixes, things that would not make sense if they're just standing alone. So those are the bound ones. The free ones, like even though pro and con can be prefixes, we can use them as standalone morphemes on their own. Any questions so far? Okay. Next, we have syntax. And this is the unconscious rules which tell speakers how to combine words into meaningful sentences, the use of verbs, structure of the word order, etc. So for example, in English, we use adjectives or descriptors before the subject. And so we would say something like the big white house. If we were speaking in Spanish, their sentence structure is you start with the subject, house, casa, and then you describe it, Casa Blanca Grande. And that would be a Spanish way of saying big white house instead of how we do it. And to me, it makes a lot more sense, actually. I love how Spanish, a sentence actually starts with an inverted question mark if it's a question. So you know at the beginning of the sentence it's going to be a question. In English, you often don't know that a sentence is a question until you get to the very end and see the question mark, right? The other thing I like is we could have 15 adjectives before we even know what is actually being described. Where in Spanish, they're telling you the object up front, and then they go into all the descriptions of it. It's also interesting. I can't spell to save my life in English because there's so many rules and exceptions and so many different languages that have been blended together. That was one thing in Spanish I could do better than in English, because Spanish, it simply is spelled like it sounds in most cases. And I really appreciate that about Spanish. So syntax, that unconscious combination of words. In universal grammar, kind of like that list on the other page I showed you, all languages have vowels and consonants, past, ways to make negations, ways to make questions, requests, commands, how to express emotions. There's nouns, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives occur in all languages. Abstract concepts as well as observable events. So those are kind of like the building blocks of our language. A lot of them are really close, so just make sure you know them well enough where you can distinguish the definitions when we get to the midterms, and it will serve you well.